Welcome back to the Estate and Consulting Podcast. Today I'm joined by Kirsty Franks, founder of Frank Marketing and Group Managing Director at the Property Franchise Group. We're diving into practical, non-fluff marketing advice to help self-employed estate agents win more instructions and to grow their business. Hope you enjoy the episode. Kirsty, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. As we were just saying, this has been long overdue to say the least.
Yeah, and thank you for having me, Chris. I really appreciate it. But yeah, it's taken us a minute, right?
Has taken a while, absolutely. I've seen you at many events, women in the estate agency and other things you've been talking on stage, and I thought Kirsty just is absolutely awesome. Most definitely a podcast guest for the future, and as if by magic, it has now happened. So I'm over the moon for it. So for those people who don't know you from social media and see all your cool videos and social stuff, sort of who are you? What are you about? What do you do?
Wow, where to begin? So yeah, I've been in marketing for 20 odd years. Been in property around kind of 6 or 7 years. So kind of did the really old-fashioned route of started right down at the bottom of the ladder in terms of a marketing assistant role, and worked my way up into kind of various different levels, right up to board level roles. I worked in a whole host of different sectors. And actually did that very purposefully to get a whole load of experience and understanding. But for me, marketing is marketing. It's about understanding your audience, understanding who you are, and explaining that to the world in a way that resonates and done well and done consistently. So yeah, I kind of got into board level roles and found myself a little bit of a niche of working with businesses that were either going through periods of significant change or private equity investment. And it was at that point I was approached by Lomond as they were doing the merger with Lindley and Simpson and Lomond, backed by LDC. So I joined them as their group marketing director, set up their marketing function, their marketing strategy, and work with them through that whole exciting and huge change project. But I had an itch that I needed to scratch that I'd been wanting to set up on my own for a number of years, and it never felt the right time. It's hard. You've got a nice steady job and a nice salary coming in, and taking that jump to self-employed feels like jumping off the edge of a cliff. But I finally did make that jump just over 4 years ago. I initially set out solo as a marketing consultant, and then very quickly realized there was going to be a ceiling to that, and set up Frank Marketing. So Frank Marketing is a marketing agency dedicated to the property sector. I absolutely fell in love with property at Lomond and saw a big opportunity for where I could make a real difference in terms of marketing. So now I wear a couple of different hats. So I still do my kind of fractional marketing director CMO work. I am fractional marketing director for the Property Franchise Group, and I also own Frank Marketing, and I've got an MD in there and a team that kind of run the day to day. So I'm in both hats.
As we discussed just before we press the record button, you started working with the Property Franchise Group just as I departed the Property Franchise, as if you knew it was now safe to go and work with the Property Franchise Group after I literally just left the same month. So I know historically you've mentioned that lots of agents have sort of a scattergun approach to marketing. It's kind of a spray and pray sort of approach. What are the dangers of this, and sort of how can having a kind of clear marketing strategy in place sort of make a difference to an agent's day to day life?
Yeah, and it's the biggest thing that I see time and time again. In fact, the call that I had just before we jumped into this podcast was this exact conversation with another agent who is doing some marketing, a little bit frustrated that they're not getting the results that they want to from their marketing, or have absolutely no idea the results that they're getting from their marketing. And marketing tends to be the thing that falls down the to-do list a little bit because we've got agencies, we've got businesses to run, right? And being able to kind of think on your feet constantly around what are we saying, what are we doing with email, what are we doing with social, what are we doing with our prospecting. It's unsurprising that the results are not where you want them to be when you're just trying to run ad hoc and kind of throw anything at it when the pipeline feels a little bit low or things feel a little bit tricky. So, the drum that I bang louder than any drum is around strategy and planning. And, part of that is what marketing channels are we going to use? What tech are we going to use? And we'll probably come on to talk about that a little bit more. But really, it's around understanding your market and your audience. Where should you be focusing your time? Where are the opportunities? Who are you talking to? Who's your ideal customer? What kind of properties are you going after? Being really, really clear on that. Then thinking about where do we want to be in terms of growth, setting the numbers to that, and then creating a marketing plan that's going to help you get from A to B, that's going to portray you in the best possible way, that's going to be on brand, that you're going to have messaging that goes out that resonates with your audience. And you're going to execute that across your marketing channels exceptionally well and consistently. And I think what I tend to see is messaging tends to be a little bit wishy-washy. We're all out here selling and letting properties, right? But what really makes your brand personality stand out and your personal brand stand out? So it's very easy for your customer to understand why they would choose you over the competition. But then I see marketing that is very trial and error. So we're gonna do put a real focus on social media this month, but we don't have a plan, so we're just gonna wing it as we go, and then the energy dips, and then you forget that, and we move on to the next thing. We're gonna do some email marketing this month, or we're gonna start running some Facebook ads, and we're gonna give that up after a month because we can't see the return that we're getting, and it's not part of a joined up strategy. And all of your marketing should be working in isolation. Your website, your email marketing, your social media, your print prospecting, whatever you're doing in the community, your events and advertising, all linked together, all tied together, all on brand, all with KPIs that you can measure. And it sounds like a lot of work, right? It sounds like, how am I going to get to the point where I've got this clarity? And I think for smaller agents, for independents, for self-employed agents, that can feel really daunting. So my advice around that would be give yourself a day a year to sit in a room and do that planning. Really think about all those things that I've just talked about. Then give yourself 2 or 3 hours every quarter to go back and review that. Question, we've done this. Is it working? What's the content that we're going to talk about for the next quarter? What's the marketing we're going to focus on for the next quarter? Keep going back to that plan and revisiting how well it's working and tweak and adjust where you need to do. But also, don't start with every single marketing channel if you're strapped on budget and time. Do 3 or 4 things well and consistently, and keep that going for a long period of time, because there are some quick wins, yeah, but a lot of this is about long-term gain and long-term focus. So be a bit more patient, but start small and then build on that. And I told you, Chris, that I'd just keep talking at you so you couldn't answer any
Perfect. No, I love it.
questions. I think the other piece that I see fall down is that the tech stack is not considered when creating the marketing strategy as well. We all get sold to by all of these prop tech companies. This is going to be the thing that's game changing, and this is going to be the thing that brings in all the new leads, and this is going to be the thing that's going to improve all of the efficiencies. And there's always shiny new things that are great. But unless you've really thought about, okay, how are we going to implement this? How's this going to be built into our marketing plan? How is this going to be built into our team? How are we going to onboard and make sure we get the most of this? I see a lot of money wasted of pieces of tech that are sat in a drawer gathering dust because it may be shiny, but it doesn't run itself. You've still got to set it up. You've still got to get it up and running. You've still got to be able to get the right content in, the right graphics in, the right processes in place within the business. So again, on the tech side of things, tech is absolutely a game changer. AI is going to change how we are working, already is for so many, but start small. Use 2 or 3 pieces of tech within your marketing and sales strategy. Get them bang right before you start moving on to the next shiny thing.
And you mentioned there sort of locking yourself in a room for one day a year and sort of doing a big sort of strategy for the entire year and sort of painting that out. Talk me through yes, it's probably more of a question that I've always wanted to ask, so I'm not asking, be selfish and ask it. When you get to like the quarterly campaigns, so I'd imagine you have a campaign every quarter, and then you kind of divide that down into kind of, daily, weekly things off the back of, an email every month or week or whatever it may be. What are sort of the big topics that agents should be focusing on for those quarterly sort of focuses or target? Is it like, right, the first quarter of this year, we're going to do content purely based around, helping homeowners in the local area with tips and advice. The next quarter is going to be, stats on the local market. How high level, where's the sort of line you're looking for? So if you looked at that plan for a year and you went, right, quarter one, we're focusing on this, what would those sort of be those topics you'd focus on sort of over that year?
I would always suggest a minimum of 4 campaigns every year, 1 a quarter, yes. But I'd have 2 of those as evergreen campaigns. So if you're doing sales and lettings, you would have a sales campaign that can be used throughout the entire year and a lettings campaign that can be used throughout the entire year. I've seen real success on having a campaign around instant valuations. We get some great success with that within the property franchise group. But where that falls down is it is a very long tail lead. So unless you put those leads that come in from instant valuation campaigns into an email nurture journey, then you won't see the success. But build that into a full campaign and funnel and follow-up process, and you will. Renters' rights is something that everybody in lettings should absolutely be having a campaign around right now and talking around. I see it as a huge opportunity for the agents that grab this with both hands because landlords are confused. Everyone's confused, right? The goalposts keep changing all the time. We're hopefully going to have some clarity very soon. But if you can grab hold of that and really talk about the benefits that you bring, the safety that you bring, the security that you bring for landlords when they become a fully managed landlord with you and hold landlord events and put advice out there, but stripping away all of the jargon and the compliance complexity and putting it into language that they will understand. They see you as an expert. They see you as their advisor. They see you as their safety net, and it can absolutely help. There's landlords that are going to be with your competition who are not getting that level of information that makes them feel comfortable with what's happening with their assets. So you can get in front of them and really be the go-to. So yeah, I think the other piece that we miss is brand campaigns. So this isn't the I'll shout out to Chris Watkins. This isn't the pie chart where the number one in our area. When you have been running your agency for a period of time, a number of years, you forget that not everybody knows what you know. You forget that not everybody understands what it is that you do differently, why you stand out from the competition, what makes you unique. Therefore, we stop telling people because we think, well, we've been saying this for years. Everyone knows what we're all about. And I think that's a mistake. So I think, when I talk about evergreen campaigns that can run all year round, I would constantly be refreshing a brand campaign that really talks about what you offer, how you do it differently, but in language that makes sense to your customers. So, think about who your audience is. If you're targeting clients that are looking to upsize from 600 grand to 900 grand, then, think about those people. They tend to be time poor. They're wanting the best possible price in the quickest possible time. They're probably happy to pay a little bit more in terms of percentage, but they want to be looked after throughout the whole entire journey. What are you saying to them that's going to make them believe and trust and understand that you're the best person for the job for them? So those kind of brand messages around who you are, what your people are all about, bringing your people front and center, using that kind of your business brand next to your personal brand is something that you should continuously be refreshing and continuously saying, even though it feels like we've said this 100 times. That's marketing. Repetition is absolutely key to making sure that your message lands with your audience, because a lot of these are new prospects, right?
And how do you get that message across without sounding, I could be like, "Oh, I'm best at this, and we're amazing at that, and oh, we just got a gold star at so and so." How do you get that across without being a bit like cringy, self-publication sort of direction?
By talking about their problems, not about what your achievements. So, if they are wanting, I don't know, a lot of agents are kind of supporting clients with not only selling their properties, but helping them source the next property. They're helping them with financial services. They're making sure that their property is marketed in the best possible way because they're doing, professional photography. They're doing drones across 3 portals. We're going to launch first on our social media. How are you going to market their property so it's got the maximum impact so you get the most interest from it? These are all the things that the client wants to hear about. So talk about those things that you do, and I think especially for self-employed and personal agents, the message is so strong around we are going to look after you from start to finish. You've got me. I am dedicated to making sure that you have the best possible experience, the best concierge experience, if you like, and you're not being passed around from pillar to post within a bigger branch. So I think whatever is unique about what you offer to your clients that really helps their problems, talk about that, not we're number one, we sold more properties than anybody else. Nobody cares about that. Prove it. Prove it by talking about how you're going to make my life easier and make sure I get the most money for my biggest asset.
And you mentioned there about sort of consistency and repetition. That's one thing that I've always been amazed at, how sort of how many times you need to kind of bang the drum, or someone goes, "Oh, you coach estate agents." I'm like, "Oh yeah." How long's that taken to fall down, sort of thing. So how, if you had your own estate agency business and you're sort of a one person band, so you're very busy to say the least, how do you sort of maintain that consistency of email and posting on socials and YouTube and TikTok and whatever else it may be? How do you achieve that without a marketing team in place?
Yeah. Um, I mean, firstly, I talked about do less well rather than more poorly. So, you talked about YouTube, TikTok, all of these channels. These are all fabulous ways to get in front of people. But if you can't keep up what you start, don't start it. So, as a minimum, I'd want agents to be on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and doing email marketing, but you've got to plan it and batch it. So if you're having to every day go out and do a piece of video content and you've got to do some email marketing and you're going to do a carousel post on Instagram, there is no way you're going to keep up that consistently because the day job's going to take hold. So you need to plan into your calendar content days. So I talked about having this plan up front. The strategy is a strategy, but it also should have a 12-month plan to say, these are all the things that we're going to talk about each week, each month. These are the channels that we're going to use so that you're planned and you know what you need to do, but then batch your content. Have content days. For my own social media content, I go into the studio one day every 3 months with a whole host of outfits and record everything in one go. Schedule it, post it, done. Otherwise, it would just absolutely fall down the to do list. It's the same concept for agents as well. Think about what you want to say, definitely get some video in there, script it, but not so it feels staged, but just so you know what you're about to say, and record lots of different video. Again, they can use tools like Canva for social media posting. So get in there, create 2 or 3 months worth of social media posts on Canva, use a scheduling tool, get it all scheduled and it's out of the way. Email marketing as an absolute minimum, I'd be doing one newsletter every month, one for sales, one for lettings. But then I'd have a whole host of email automation set up in the background. So making sure that we've got email marketing going out at different touch points along your customer journey, so you're constantly in touch and front of mind. There's a chunk of work to get this set up right. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that that's easy. There are marketing agencies that can help. But having that kind of planning, set up, structure done up front, and then have content days is the only way that you're going to make sure this is done well and consistently, because trying to build marketing activity into your day-to-day life when you're a busy estate agent absolutely stands to reason that consistency is the thing that's going to go.
And so you talked about social media then, bulk recording, which I absolutely think is the way forward. And I think we're currently booked on our YouTube Shorts channel until 2028 currently. So definitely on one for scheduling things in the future. You won't see me having a haircut or
When this is getting released.
yeah, yeah. I won't be shaving my head or like dye my hair blonde anytime soon. I'll put it that way, or I have to delete years of content. So talk me through, how do you convert people who look at you on social media? So people might go, "Oh, it's a really great video, and it got 10,000 views, for example, and you do great content, and people engage with it." What's the best way to convert those people, those sort of views, into clients? Because views are great, and it sounds good to go, "I've got 10,000 followers," but what are the best ways to kind of convert that sort of online presence? And oh, I view your YouTube video and I view your TikTok stuff. What's the best way to convert that into actual clients for your business?
I don't see social media as a lead generator. I see social media as a conversion tool. So if I was looking at lead generation activity, I'd be looking at, and from an agent's perspective, I'd be looking at, what are you doing around print prospecting? What are you doing around digital ads? What are you doing around email marketing? Yes, it's a database that already knows you, but they're going to return and they're going to recommend. So it's absolutely a lead gen tool. And what are you doing about going out there, door knocking in the local community, introducing yourself, etc.? All of that then drives traffic to your website. So your website needs to be absolutely on point, messages on point, and be able to convert any leads that come to your website easily. So forms, live chat, booking, get in touch really quickly. Ideally, you want them to be able to book a valuation and book a viewing on your website. But for me, the social media piece is around the trust. So when an agent has found you and is interested in you, and maybe they've been to their website, they're also going to go and look at your social media. So if they can validate that you are who you say you are, you're putting out great content, they're continuing to kind of keep following your content, they're potentially then recommending you to other people. If they're following you on socials and you're doing a good job of not only talking about your business and the problems that your business solves for them, but you're bringing your people front and center with personal brand, the minute that person walks into the living room to do a valuation, the job is half done. So that's why I think it's a conversion tool, because they already know, like, and trust you because they're already following you on social media. If they didn't, they'd unfollow you. So for me, I don't think we should be looking necessarily at social media as a lead gen. I definitely think it can be in terms of buyers and tenants, because if we're putting properties out there and we're showcasing properties, great. But in terms of valuation leads, for me, social media is a massive conversion tool.
Well, I suppose it's, I can't remember where I got the stat from, so I might be making this up, but I think only about 5 or 6% of the UK public are either selling or thinking about selling at any one time. So I guess it's kind of a more of not long-term play necessarily, but I think if you were dropped into a estate agency business today, you'd be like, great, let's target the guys who are on the market. That's kind of our quickest sort of lowest hanging fruit. But I guess once that's kind of either exhausted or your business sort of matures, it's more sort of looking at that 95% who aren't necessarily selling today, but you're kind of warming them up for 6 months' time, 6 years' time, 2 months' time, whatever it may be, to kind of get that kind of going through eventually into business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your print prospecting, where you can target, like you say, on market, even off market, with everything that the likes of Spectre are doing with their AI propensity to sell model, is meaning that there's really strong ROI coming through from print prospecting. So traditional is not dead. What I would say on that is you still should be measuring it. You still should have unique phone numbers, unique QR codes, so you can actually absolutely measure every bit of activity that you're doing through print. Again, with your Meta advertising, your Google local advertising, making sure that you're constantly updating content on your website and on your Google My Business page, so that you're improving your search rankings when people are out there looking for estate agents near me. Um, but yeah, I think, it's all well and good thinking about where are we getting these new leads in, but we've got to nurture what we've got as well. And that's where email marketing comes in. 15% of the people on your database will be looking to move house in the next 6 months. So we've got to be talking to them. They're also going to be recommending others. And then we want to make sure personal brand and social media helps conversion, because we don't want to be going out to 10 valuations before we secure one. We want that conversion rate to be really strong as well. So we've got a steady flow of leads coming in, but we're really strong when we get in front of that client as well in terms of converting them. And that's what starts to turn the dial in terms of the revenue.
And if we were sat here with a blank piece of paper and going, great, okay, we're going to do our email nurture campaign for people who are actually sort of either just joining our CRM system or they're there already. What sort of, should they get an email every day, every week, every month? And what should we be talking about? I guess we're not going to send every email saying, are you ready yet? Question mark or winky face, every single time. So what sort of communication should we getting across in those emails? And what sort of frequency should we be looking at with them?
Yeah, and it'll be different for every client, and I think we've got to look at different customer journeys. So there should be automation set up for when a valuation lead comes in, and there should be automation set up when somebody's had a valuation. There should be anniversary automation set up, and there's a real fine balance between communication and over communication. So I think let's take an instant valuation lead for as an example. You would follow up immediately with an email. You might put a WhatsApp follow up in there as well. You might do another one a week later and then another one 2 months later. But what they will do is they'll go into your email newsletter database so that if every month you're putting out an email newsletter that's about what's going on with the local market, what's happening with property prices, what's happening in the local community, all of those kind of important messages, hot properties, all of those things, they're getting that constant trickle of information. So there's touch points that need to be in place, but they need to be done carefully and they need to not be a sales pitch. And this is, I come right back to the start again, where I talk about the strategy piece. Your messaging is a big part of that strategy piece. And then your messaging needs to flow across all the activity that you're doing. So, however you decide your messaging, your tone of voice, what you say, what you don't say, all of your emails need to feel like that as well. And this is one of my big worries with AI because now everyone's a marketing expert, right? Because we've all got ChatGPT and Canva. So we've got marketing tick nailed. But if you're just putting out the same generic AI generated content as everybody else and it doesn't truly feel you and feel authentic and feel on brand and your messaging absolutely be on point, you're wasting money. You're wasting money on social media if the messaging's not right. You're wasting money on your print prospecting if you're just using generic off the shelf templates. And you're definitely wasting opportunities with email marketing if you don't add your own brand, flair, personality, and tone of voice into what you're saying.
It's almost, I think we can all be guilty of this kind of done for the sake of being done almost. So I've got clients who like post sort of token Canva things. I always think I need to ban Canva, but and they'll be like, oh yeah, I've done my social media for today. And I'm like, right, well, let's have a look at it. And I look at it, I'm like, you've kind of done it, but you've not done it. It's kind of like you've done your homework, but you've kind of like just written, 5 minutes before the outside the classroom sort of thing. So it's kind of looking at it and going, actually, what's the goal for doing it? We're not doing it just for the sake of doing it. So we can say, oh, I've done my social media post there, I've done my bulk email for this month, sort of thing. You're actually doing it to get a result, and that's actually the true sort of measure of it.
And I think, the planning bit helps with that. So we have a kind of saying within our office in Frank that unless you would want to showcase that piece of work in a presentation, in a pitch presentation, it's not going out the door. So it's a similar premise. If you've given yourself the time to do the thinking and the planning and creating a lot of this content up front, you then walk away from it for an hour or so, come back to it and go, am I actually proud? Am I proud of that? Why am I doing it? What is it trying to achieve? Is it ticking the boxes? Or is it just a little bit meh? And if it's the latter, start again because I'd rather no content that goes out than something that's really vanilla because it absolutely dilutes your brand. We think about it, right? If we've got agents out there who are doing an absolutely cracking job and they're in front of clients and they can convert and they're building rapport and they're building all of these relationships and that is the experience that customers are getting in person, but then what they see online is something very different, that absolutely erodes a brand. So we need to make sure that whatever engagement any customer has with anything to do with your business, on the phone, on email, online, on your website, in person, every touch point should feel uniquely you and on brand. And that's not easy. It takes time and it takes training and it takes thinking and it takes planning. But without that, you're damaging your brand.
Mm. And I think sometimes it takes, this is a bit of a sales pitch for yourself here, Kirsty, it's coming through. I think sometimes it takes someone who is a step away from the business to actually point things out and go, actually, that sounds like it's written by AI, or that sounds like, where does that go if I click that button? And it goes, oh, oh no, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, but, oh, okay, like, okay. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 404 error. So I think that, it's very clear to some people from the outside looking in kind of what's working and what's not working. I think that we've all kind of been guilty, especially with AI coming out, to kind of do that. Oh, write me a post on so and so and write this email. You're like, oh, it's amazing. And it's all kind of like game changing, rocket emoji sort of thing. And it's sort of that personal voice. I think obviously the more that people will use AI, the more you recognize AI as well. So the number of times I've had clients and I'm like, this is AI. And they're like, oh, you can tell. And I'm like, yeah, I can definitely tell. Like 100% I can tell this is AI sort of thing. So she's definitely having that.
Like 110 because, there's so many out of the box websites now, right? So people can just get a website and, almost for free, and they can just pay monthly, a monthly fee for hosting. And then ChatGPT will write all your content, and then we can just go onto iStock and get some stock imagery, and that's it. Job done.
Absolutely.
But
So you
people can spot it a mile off.
so you mentioned earlier about obviously consistency. So you mentioned kind of don't start saying you can't continue, which I actually love the sound of that, because actually one of the things that I kind of throw myself under the bus, and I'm like, right, if I start this today, I have to go forward with it. And usually I just start and go, well, I'm committed now, so I kind of have to do it. So I kind of, yeah, just get it going there. So how do you've got many plates spinning. So you've got obviously got Frank Marketing, you're working with the property franchise group, you've got Women in Estate Agency, which is absolutely awesome. How do you juggle all of that? And what can self-employed estate agents learn from sort of how you juggle all those so many plates at one go?
Right. Um, Yeah, and I've got a 13-year-old little boy in the mix of all of this as well, while trying to juggle all these plates. I'm very organized. I'm very organized. And I do a lot of planning. So I carve out time to do everything that I do, practice what I preach. I do walk the walk. I have very clear goals for every kind of part of my working life. So within the property franchise group, we spend an awful lot of time on strategy, planning. I've got an incredible marketing team within the group, and I've drilled that into them for the last 3 years, that it all starts with planning, and everything we do is KPI driven, and everything is measured. So if you do the planning and you set your numbers and you're tracking your numbers every month, it's very easy to see if you haven't hit something. We have red, amber, green statuses across everything. And it's the same within Frank. We make commitments, we make plans, we put deliverables and KPIs around it, and we track everything. So when you've got something staring you in the face that says, you said you'd do this and you said you'd achieve this, and this is not quite where it needs to be, it very much keeps you focused and on track to make sure that you deliver what you need to do. Women in a state agency is a labor of love for me. So that is, yeah, something that I do voluntarily, something I'm incredibly, incredibly proud of, and the difference that we're making across the sector in terms of true equality. And this, is absolutely not a feminist movement. It's about how together we can really make it a fair playing field. I feel like I've given you a really wishy-washy answer. The honest truth is, Chris, I am very organized. I'm very focused, and I won't say yes to something unless I know I can deliver it, because I won't ever let anyone down.
Oh, that's what I like to hear. So do you feel pressure? It's probably from my point of view more than anything else. Do you feel pressure to have everything to a certain standard because you kind of have to practice what you preach there? So you say to people, "Oh, you should have automations and have email campaigns, things like, oh, well, we better have that as a business sort of thing. Oh, you should be posting this sort of content on social media. Oh, we better be doing that as well, sort of thing." Do you feel kind of a pressure within the business to kind of do what you say to do effectively?
It's a bit like a builder's house.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Frank comes last on our priority list. So yeah, we do all of those things. But I've held back on doing too much too soon because again, I won't start something that I can't continue. So there's a whole load more that I want to do with Frank Marketing, but I've held off because we've been growing rapidly, we're busy, and my clients will always come first. And we're adding more and more into our mix as we go along. Again, with the premise of I won't promise that we're going to do something and not deliver it. So, we've been really, really lucky within Frank Marketing that 99% of our business has come through referrals. Um, so I haven't had to necessarily turn on the lead generation machine at this moment in time. And also our ambition is not to be this huge, massive marketing agency. It's about making sure that the clients that we work with get an exceptional service and we do what we say we're going to do.
Fantastic. And final question, because you've been very generous, A, with your time, but also your knowledge as well. If you were an estate agent listening to this and there were sort of 3 practical marketing actions they could take today that have the biggest impact on their business, what do you think they would be?
Create a plan. Absolutely create a plan. Then don't just stick that in a drawer. Make sure everyone in your team is clear on that plan and a really detailed plan, the strategy, but also exactly what you're going to do every week, every month of the year. Revisit it every quarter.
Yep. That makes
Choose the marketing channels that you're going to focus on first. Your website for lead conversion and SEO. Social media, a mix of company, personal brand, video, and static posts done well consistently. Email marketing, both newsletter and automations, and print prospecting. I know that was 4, but within one point. And then the last thing, measure absolutely everything and don't take your eye off the results.
amazing. Kirsty, you've been an absolutely brilliant guest. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.